I was born in January 1972. It was almost exactly 1 year before Roe v. Wade became the law of the land. I was the product of an unplanned teen pregnancy, and I am so eternally grateful that my mom and dad ignored all the people who told them to just take care of that problem, and they chose to embrace life and to have me, the first of their 4 children. If they... It's a simple fact, a very simple fact. If they had not done that, then I would not be here, and I often wonder who else we have missed and what those individuals might have contributed to our society and our world. And I don't know if you saw his executive order on gender, but it defines life as beginning at conception rather than birth.
Weird how Speaker Mike Johnson can tell the story of his parents choosing to have him 1 year before Roe versus Wade gave Americans the right to choose. He somehow celebrated his party's commitment to take that choice away, regardless of each individual's circumstances or their health.
Let me say very simply, I want more babies in the United States of America. I want more happy children in our country. And I want beautiful young men and women who are eager to welcome them into the world and eager to raise them.
But sadly, the things that J.D. Vance and Mike Johnson told the annual March for Life that they want have nothing to do with the policies that they support. Because many of those eager young men and women that want to welcome children into the world and raise them are scarred and many times unable to due to their policies.
Her doctor told her,
"You're 100% for sure going to lose your baby." We just kept asking, isn't there anything we can do? Isn't there anything we can do? And the answer was no.
Her doctor said because of anti-abortion laws in Texas, they couldn't terminate the pregnancy, even though Amanda was at a high risk for developing a life-threatening infection. A few days later, Amanda did develop an infection.
I was shaking, my teeth were chattering. I was trying to tell Josh that I didn't feel good.
Very quickly, she went downhill very, very fast. She was in a state I've never seen her in.
There's a lot of commotion. And I said, what's going on? And they said, we're moving you to the ICU. And I said, why? And they said, you're developing symptoms of sepsis.
That was when I was really scared I was going to lose her. Amanda almost died. That's not pro-life. Amanda will have challenges in the future, having more kids. That's not pro-life.
Nothing about it feels pro-life.
Yeah, but they don't care. The disingenuous speeches that they give, leading to the power and control that they crave for the applause that they receive, are the only things that they care about. Mike Johnson represents Louisiana, which apparently doesn't care about any of its residents' lives once his belief about conception is achieved. Because his state ranks 49th in the country for child well-being, according to the Annie E. Casey Foundation, which studies metrics regarding economic well-being, education, children's health at family, and community. It found that 27% of Louisiana children were in poverty, 11% of teens were not in school and not working, and 35% of parents without secure employment. The nonprofit found all this, all higher than the national averages. But there's more. Children in Louisiana are also more likely to be homicide victims than any other state. In 2021, 11% of Louisiana babies had low birth weights, the second highest percentage in the country. In 2022, an estimated 72% of Louisiana fourth graders were not proficient in reading, and 81% of eighth graders were not proficient in math, both above the national average. There's more for the ultra-Christian Mike Johnson to chew on while celebrating his life. Because Teresa Falgost, Director of Data and Research at the Agenda for Children, pointed out that Louisiana is unlikely to improve child well-being significantly without improving the economic stability of their families. The state has systematically underinvested in the kinds of programs and policies that might help its children and families. And one more dose of reality that this self-righteous piece of shit laughs about while ignoring. The state's child and teen death rate, which increased 44% in 2 years, sits at 48% nationally. 29% of deaths of Louisiana children and teens were homicides, twice the national rate, tragically making it the state where children are the most likely to die by homicide. There were 52 child and teen deaths per 100,000 in Louisiana in 2021, compared to 30 nationally. Yeah, Tim Burchett really wasn't lying when he had this to say about elementary school-aged children the day after they were shot to death in their classrooms.
Precious little kids lost their lives, and I believe 3 adults, I believe it. And the shooter, of course, lost their life too. So it's a horrible, horrible situation. And we're not going to fix it. Criminals are going to be criminals. And my daddy fought in the Second World War, fought in the Pacific, fought the Japanese, and he told me, he said, buddy, he said, if somebody wants to take you out and doesn't mind losing their life, there's not a whole heck of a lot you can do about it.
They won't fix it because the Vice President of the United States is much more focused on condemning American citizens that pay his salary.
By and large, our society, our country, has not yet stepped up in the way you have. And our government certainly has failed in that important responsibility. We failed a generation not only by permitting a culture of abortion on demand, but also by neglecting to help young parents achieve the ingredients they need to live a happy and meaningful life. A culture of radical individualism took root, one where the responsibilities and joys of family life were seen as obstacles to overcome, not as personal fulfillment or personal blessings. Our society has failed to recognize the obligation that one generation has to another is a core part of living in a society to begin with.
He's blaming Americans for neglecting to help young parents achieve the ingredients that they need to live a happy and healthy life, while his president's plan to do just that sounded like this.
Can you commit to prioritizing legislation to make childcare affordable? And if so, what specific piece of legislation will you advance?
Well, I would do that, and we're sitting down. You know, I was somebody, we had Senator Marco Rubio, and my daughter Ivanka was so impactful on that issue. It's a very important issue. But I think when you talk about the kind of numbers that I'm talking about, that, because look, childcare is childcare. There's something, you have to have it. In this country, you have to have it. But when you talk about those numbers compared to the kind of numbers that I'm talking about by taxing foreign nations at levels that they're not used to, but they'll get used to it very quickly. And it's not going to stop them from doing business with us, but they'll have a very substantial tax when they send product into our country. Those numbers are so much bigger than any numbers that we're talking about, including childcare. We're going to be taking in trillions of dollars. And as much as childcare is talked about as being expensive, it's relatively speaking not very expensive compared to the kind of numbers we'll be taking in.
Yeah, his answer was tariffs. In other words, nothing. When a group of billionaires get together and sell you empty promises of glory based on a rabid opposition to people that they've told you are your enemies, they get the power that they craved and give you a couple of middle fingers in return.
Trump talked about tariffs just yesterday. Mary Erdos, your colleague, was on stage talking about how your firm has created a quote-unquote war room that's looking at each of these executive orders as they come in.
Yeah, look, I look at tariffs, they are an economic tool. That's it. They're an economic weapon, depending on how you use it and why you use it and stuff like that. And, people argue, is it inflationary and non-inflationary? I would put in perspective, if it's a little inflationary, but it's good for national security, so be it. I mean, get over it. National security trumps a little bit more inflation.
Get over it. It's what they're going to tell you about the price of gas and groceries. And if your 12-year-old daughter is assaulted and is forced to carry her uncle's baby, potentially ruining or ending her life, get over it. They got money to make and applause to receive for it.
Earlier this week, President Donald J. Trump stood in the Capitol Rotunda and took the oath of office, becoming not just the 45th, but now the 47th President of the United States, and I know all of you helped. With the inauguration on Monday, our country faces the return of the most pro-family, most pro-life American president of our lifetimes. Now, this is the man who delivered on his promise of ending Roe, giving us a monumental, earth-shattering decision in Dobbs. The man who appointed hundreds of pro-life judges dedicated to defending the constitutional liberties of all Americans.
It's an administration that continues to provide nothing to its supporters except applause lines for their glory and widely disproven lies about a group of nameless and faceless citizens for them to hate. Their president didn't even care enough to show up for this in person.
On the first anniversary of the disastrous ruling known as Roe v. Wade, that unconstitutional decision took power away from the states and the voters, kicking off 50 years of division and anger. But thanks to your tireless work and devotion across 5 decades, that historic wrong was set right 3 years ago. I was so proud to be a participant. 6 courageous justices of the Supreme Court of the United States returned the issue to the state legislatures and to the people where it belongs. It became a vote of the people. In my second term, we will again stand proudly for families and for life. We will protect the historic gains we have made and stop the radical Democrat push for a federal right to unlimited abortion on demand up to the moment of birth and even after birth. Think of that, after birth. And some people want that. Can you believe it?